Welcome to the Michigan Man Podcast on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V-Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize N Blue, for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. On today's program, we discuss Michigan's red-hot recruiting run and much more with Trevor McCue from ON3's Maize N Blue review. At this time last month, a lot of you were worried about the class of 26 and how it seems stuck in neutral. Not anymore. Sherrone Moore and his staff have been tearing it up, getting verbals from some very elite talent. As of this morning, we have the number 9 recruiting class in the country. In the next few days, it could climb even higher, with several marquee players set to make their announcements. We know it doesn't mean a thing until they sign on the dotted line, but for now, things are looking very, very promising. My guest today says Michigan's recruiting staff and GM Sean McGee have put Michigan in a good place for this cycle and the near future. Joining us next is Trevor McCue from ON3's Maize N Blue review. So stay with us. Joining us on our game day segment today for the first time is Trevor McCue from, I was going to say Rivals Maize N Blue review, but we just talked about this off air. Trevor, it's now a big merger with ON3, so it's going to be great with the season, especially right around the corner.
Yeah, timing couldn't be better. Thank you. Heading over to the ON3 platform, so people can now find us at on3.com. Really excited to have the amount of resources and information, just almost unlimited at this point for our subscribers, and the coverage is going to be out of this world. And then at a national level, what On3 is doing for college sports coverage, NIL, transfer portal, and now the Rivals brand getting completely relaunched, where all the names like Steve Wiltfong and all those folks will be under the Rivals brand, and will be the pinnacle of high school recruiting rankings and recruiting coverage and high school sports coverage. It's really just a collision of all the best coverage, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Well, good stuff and good timing, because there is a lot going on in the Michigan football scene, and we're not even at Big Ten Media Days or camp yet, but at this time last month, Trevor, I think a portion of the fan base was, they were worried about recruiting, specifically the class of 26, but not so much right now. We've even pulled in our first 5-star of the cycle on Sunday, Carter Meadows from Gonzaga Prep, and then Monday 4-star safety Andre Clark. Then on Tuesday, edge Julian Walker. I'm afraid to say that's it, because the way it's been going lately, the minute we hit the record button, maybe someone else has committed. As a matter of fact, I saw Josh Henschke mention this morning there might be someone else very soon.
Yeah, we have our calendar. Luckily, a lot of these kids do pick dates ahead of time, so we're able to kind of track out. But we have our calendar, and there's a lot of maybes that could drop at any time. So it's been a busy few weeks. Fans were anxious, and we tried telling them part of it is Michigan's recruiting strategy. We've seen it for years in terms of maybe they're slow in the spring and things start to build up a little bit in the summer, and that's where they have a big push. And then, of course, they can close in the fall. And that's just Michigan choosing to play the long game and really focusing on relationship building with these kids, so that when they do commit, they feel like it's solid and they don't have to recruit them really hard all the way to the finish line, right? They like spending the time and feeling like both sides are confident in it. And then also you had this House settlement case kind of hanging over everything, and we knew Michigan was in a position to be a power in this new world post-settlement, and they were just kind of waiting for that. And once that went through, it was just a collision. Excuse me, I've used that phrase already, but it was the floodgates just sort of opened, because it was Michigan's strategy coming together with this new world that they've frankly been preparing for since 2021, arguably, when the Wild West of NIL began. They always knew there would be legislation, there would be structure, and now they're just a powerhouse in terms of NIL and the recruiting infrastructure that's been built by Sherrone Moore. And we're seeing the dividends of that and the commitments that have already happened. And like you said, the commitments that are coming up, potentially a 5-star wide receiver in Calvin Russell, stealing a corner like Dorian Barney from Penn State. And now, we're hearing other names like Devon Benjamin, who's long time been in Oregon lean. Michigan's gone national, coast to coast. They're getting the best players from everywhere. And it's a really impressive operation going on from Sherrone Moore and company.
Yeah, I was looking at the list of commits by position this morning, and I guess the only state that's not represented yet is Michigan.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm a big high school football fan, especially here in the state, and there's a lot of good kids. Especially here, I'm on the west side of the state, so a lot of good kids that get overlooked for different reasons. But the talent pool in terms of the rankings really hasn't been there the last couple cycles, and we could do a whole episode about that, what Michigan's doing to keep players in state. But I hope that improves. I hope more is done to keep Michigan kids home, but it just kind of has to do with the cycle. Michigan will always recruit well in Michigan, but I mean, you've also got some of these top kids. Notre Dame's done really well in the state and winning some battles with Michigan. That's true as well. But I think it's going to be year to year. There's going to be years where 5 or 6 kids, the best in Michigan, stay at Michigan or go to Michigan, right? That's going to happen. This is just not one of those years where it's a heavy state for Michigan and a couple guys, things just not lining up. But I don't think that's a consistent trend going forward. You always have to take care of your backyard.
Yeah, you're right about that. Well, one position group that's been eye-popping is the defensive line class that we're bringing in. I've even read that some analysts are saying it could be Michigan's best ever defensive lineman class. And of course, time will tell. But Coach Esposito is sure proving his recruiting chops in a big way, isn't he?
Yeah, I jokingly put a tweet up the other day that, he's just from Western Michigan. People are downplaying the potential impact he could have. But yeah, kids love him, and he's doing an incredible job selling the development and his vision and obviously the fit in the Michigan defense as a whole. Wake Martindale's been a part of that too on the back end, closing some of these. But the big thing with this group, we've seen, I was just talking with Aiden, our recruiting insider. We're looking at it going, okay, they're going to get Titan Davis or Carter Meadows, right? Julian Walker's a crazy shot in the dark. Maybe they can go after him if they don't get a Carter Meadows, right? The idea they could get all of these guys, though, is crazy. But it's because they want to play together. This relationship building, this family, dynamic that Michigan pitches has really paid off where, you've got this 4-for-4 picture going around now with Titan Davis and Julian Walker and Carter Meadows and Tariq Boney, because these guys were on a visit together and immediately hit it off and started calling each other the trench mob and really saw each other playing with each other. Julian Walker doesn't commit at Michigan without Carter Meadows committing. I think is a thing you could say. He was immediately on the phone with Carter after he committed to Michigan because it was kind of a surprise. It was a little bit early, and they're recruiting each other at this point. So Michigan's not just recruiting. It's not just the staff. These players are really, really excited about the chance to bring Michigan back to that. I know it's only been a year removed. The championship pedigree is there, and they're going to be a part of the group that can bring it back. And it's working. It's resonating, the pitch and the vision, again, of Sherrone Moore and company. And these players are excited to play together. It's pretty incredible.
It's been an incredible 30-day run on the recruiting trail. And, I think every analyst that covers Michigan is saying there's more to come, maybe some really big names dropping. The one I get asked about most is Savion Hyder, the 5-star running back out of Virginia. Does he have a date that we know of where he's going to announce?
Not a specific date, but his camp has been pretty consistent that they want that wrapped up before football season begins. So I think we're in that window. It'll probably be sometime in the month of July, maybe early August. Yeah, and he's been very deliberate in his recruiting. So, there's not a lot of info directly from him out there, but Michigan feels good. And I think he's probably the most must-get of this class, the Bryce Underwood, if you will, just because he's your clear top RB1 target, and there's really not a lot of other options. So it's exciting as somebody like a Calvin Russell, a 5-star receiver. You really haven't had that kind of talent before. Hyder is somebody who continues what you do well, which is smash, right? Mm-hmm. So his fit is obvious. You've been recruiting him for a long time. He's your clear top target. He's kind of the cherry on top of what this class has become, and it would be an incredible ad and a nice final, I don't want to say final win because there's still more to come, but I think that makes everybody at Michigan feel really, really good if they can get Hyder in the fold.
Well, now that it's July, Trevor, the anticipation for the coming season, it's going to grow by the day, already is. Big Ten Media Days, not that far off, in Vegas this year. Preview magazines, streamers are hyping the season, and the good thing is everyone's undefeated right now, but Man, it's fun to be this close to another college football season, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird. I was thinking, I'm so ready for football. We're so far away. And then, yeah, you bring up excellent point. The magazines are out there. Media days are coming. And fall camp's like a month away.
Yeah.
We're really not that far away. So, yeah, it's an exciting time. And, yeah, everybody's optimistic. Everybody's got the best team they've had in a long time. It's all about hypotheticals right now, right? You don't have to defend any bad results yet.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, let's turn our attention to Sherrone Moore and his team for a few minutes, Trevor. And I know it's not written in stone, but it appears Bryce Underwood is going to get the start right out of the gate. Now, we know things could change once practice started. Expectations, though, through the roof for this kid. It's at least going to be fun to watch him develop, isn't it?
I mean, we knew he was an incredible talent. The more we get to see him up close, though, the more we learn about him just because he's on campus. He's an incredible person, and we're seeing leadership out of him too. Running 5 a.m. drills with wide receivers. We had Donovan McCulley talking about, I missed one and he really got on me. And I had to think for a second, I'm like, here's a fifth-year senior talking about his freshman quarterback holding him accountable, and he felt bad that he let him down, right? Like that's the kind of command Bryce Underwood already has. It may not be etched in stone, but man, it's close. It is hard to imagine anyone other than Bryce Underwood starting the season. Obviously, like you said, things can happen, but all things considered, it should be Bryce Underwood. I think even had Mikey Keene been healthy in the spring, Bryce still would have looked like the clear-cut starter. Keene knows what his role is, and he's still doing a great job, even if that's going to be as a backup. That room is really tight-knit and focused on winning. But, yeah, to see Bryce on the field and what he's going to be able to do, look, there's going to be some wow moments. He's an incredible athlete. He's an incredible passer. And there's going to be some moments too, right? He's going to make mistakes. He's probably going to throw interceptions he shouldn't. And you just hope they're not untimely. They're not game costing. And you hope he learns from them quickly and continues to get better as the year goes on. That's what I would expect, right? We know his talent isn't going to translate to the field. I think so. And the things normally a player that might delay them from starting, you'd say, well, where are they on the playbook? Where are they on football IQ? Where are they physically? And you don't have to worry about any of that with Bryce. He looks like a senior already. He's incredibly incredible physically. His football IQ is off the charts. Like I said, his leadership, he's already got captainship-like leadership of this team. Everything Bryce needs to do to be better as a starter, I think, needs to happen on the football field. So delaying him gaining that experience just doesn't make sense to me. He's going to have a tough test. Week 2, you're on the road, night game, Oklahoma, kind of throwing him to the wolves. But I think it'll be a good learning experience for him. And if you can come out of that with a W, then that's a couple big wins for you.
Well, as we well remember, last season the offense struggled for many reasons, mainly because of erratic quarterback play. Again, we haven't seen a single down from this offense yet, and there definitely are question marks. But this offense it has to take a step forward from what it was last year, don't you think, Trevor?
That's kind of been the saying, hasn't it? It has to get better. It can't be worse.
No.
Yeah, we've had all these like chicken or egg debates with, it was the offensive line not giving enough protection. Was the quarterback play not good enough? Were the wide receivers this? The play calling? Probably a little bit of everything played a factor, right? And to Sherrone Moore's credit, this isn't something he let linger. He made a really tough decision and immediately moved on from Kirk Campbell and brought in an experienced OC and former head coach and Chip Lindsey, who has a scheme that I think will adapt well to what Michigan already does, but can enhance that passing game a little bit. Went out and got a Donovan McCulley out of the transfer portal, and we're seeing recruiting the way they're adapting for the long term. But in terms of this year, Bryce Underwood, Mikey Keene for the solid backup. Jake Garcia recently comes in and adds some depth as well. And, I mean, you could keep going. Bringing back Juan Castillo to help with the offensive line. If Biff Poggi comes in, Sherrone Moore himself is going to spend more time with the offensive line. You get Justice Haynes in the running game. You can see all these moves they've made to create improvement. And, yeah, you just have to assume it's going to pay off. Now, to what level? We don't know, right? A little bit of improvement, though, might be all it takes for Michigan to take a step in terms of being competitive in the Big Ten and maybe getting to the playoff. Because we've said, hey, if you've got competent quarterback play last year, are you losing to Indiana? Probably not, right? Are you losing to Illinois? Washington, they got back in the game after being down 17-0, and then it was the fumbles that turned that game around. So Michigan is arguably 9-3, maybe even 10-2 last year with better QB play. So coming into this season, and again, it's a freshman, right? There's going to be freshman mistakes, but you expect the offense to take a step while the defense is still going to be elite. So if they can take some big steps, then yeah, all of a sudden we start getting big expectations in Ann Arbor again, and we're talking about competing for the Big Ten and getting into the playoff and maybe making some noise. But I think even a marginal improvement is going to be enough to get Michigan back on track here.
Oh, yeah, and that's why I'm interested to see what Chip Lindsey does with this offense, and especially when it comes to Underwood. Because I know fans want to see him sparkle from day one, and we talked about this a few minutes ago. You're going to see the eye-popping passes and plays, and then you're going to see the, why did he do that? But the thing is, he does not have to be a finished product for this offense to be much better, does he?
No, and that's a great point. We've seen, in the Harbaugh era, the way JJ was kind of brought along. I think people forget going into that 22 season, the debate was the game manager, risk-averse Cade McNamara versus JJ, who would be a playmaker, but take all these risks and probably turn the ball over a bunch, right? And what we got was a JJ McCarthy who did not turn the ball over very much, right? Yeah. Now, you'd argue they had him on a leash quite a bit and really didn't allow him to take a lot of shots, but they also put him in situations, and this is Sherrone Moore around, right, on the offensive staff and as an OC in 23, I think they put him in situations that matched his skills where he could take some chances and excel, especially on third down, but also avoided those game-changing interceptions like we saw at maybe the TCU playoff game, right? They're going to do that with Bryce. This offense isn't going to be 70% pass all of a sudden. I think people need to kind of reshape their expectations. This is still going to be a very balanced offense. I think they're just going to find ways to execute better, which is going to make the passing offense look better, right? Simply just by even on some of these little short routes and intermediate and be more efficient, but they do want to be more explosive. So if the receiver proves to be explosive with Bryce, that player is going to get more chances. But I do think it's going to be brought along. I don't think they're going to let him come out there and throw it 40 times every game because that's just not a winning strategy for Michigan. Maybe in that New Mexico game, that opener, let him shine a little bit like JJ did against Hawaii. But I think we're going to see a lot of the similar offense with Chip Lindsey, maybe some RPO thrown in there as well. But they're not going to allow Underwood to take so many risks that it maybe hinders his development, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to see baby steps with Chip Lindsey and the offense. And you know what? That's okay because I think most of us feel confident that Wink Martindale and the defense will be the strength of this team anyway, and they're going to allow that offense time to find its way, aren't they?
Yeah, they really found themselves in the second half of the year. Just impressive job by Wink Martindale, and I think there's a comfort level now in terms of the college game that is going to allow him to bring in maybe some of those schemes that early in the year gave this roster fits, right? Because now they're a little bit more comfortable with his ideas, his terminology, so they could arguably take a step in that respect. That continuity of having him back too, I think, is a huge deal. And look, you lost some big names. You lost Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant and Will Johnson, who you spent a lot of last year without anyway. But this kind of reminds me of the 2022 season where maybe you don't have that one big name where Hudge leaves and then Ojabo leaves, but the depth is significant this year. There's a lot more depth, especially on the defensive front. There's some names in the secondary that I think are going to take huge leaps. And you hope Rod Moore is able, he's trending this way, to return and be healthy and not only provide a big boost on the football field, but from a leadership standpoint. I know he was doing it from the sidelines being Coach Rod Moore, but having him on the field, I think is also another massive step. It's a top 5 defense, and they were a top 10 defense last year with an offense that was going 3 and out 70% of the time. So I think that ecosystem you're talking about, not only is this defense going to help the offense, but if this offense can stay on schedule and run a little bit more clock, that's only going to help Wink Martindale with shorter fields and more rest to go with that depth that he's got. It could be a pretty special group on the defensive side of the ball this year.
It sure should be, and it's going to be fun to watch as the team develops through the course of the season. And I know already I've been getting emails since December about how confident people are in the team. Again, I remind them always, we haven't seen these guys play down yet, so let's sort of notch it back. But it seems like so many Michigan fans are confident that this team will actually be in the playoff picture this fall. And I keep hearing people say, "Oh, the schedule's much easier." Still, that's a tough schedule. I don't care. There's a lot of really, really challenging games on that schedule. So expectations are maybe too high for this year. But do you see playoffs as a possibility?
I do, and I'm with you. It's easy to be. I mean, I think I predicted 10-2 or 11-1 last year too, right? I bought into a lot of the hype and the transition, and probably ignored some of the obvious red flags. But this year, there's not as many red flags. Other than, again, freshman quarterback. There are some question marks still on that offensive line. I think left tackle's a big one. Is the staff going to be confident in who's blocking Bryce Underwood's blindside, right? But yeah, I don't think the schedule is easy. It's kind of weird too with the alternating home and away games.
Yeah.
It's home away back and forth. So it's kind of a weird. I'm going to be interested to see how they handle that dynamic as well. That Oklahoma game right out the gate's a big test. You win that one and your season's kind of on a rocket ship. You can afford to lose it. Like, let's be honest, with the expanded playoff, it almost doesn't matter. But 10-2 is kind of where you want to be at. And if you drop one early to an Oklahoma or even that road trip to Nebraska, well, you're putting yourself in a tough spot. So those first 4 games of the year before the bye are really going to be crucial for what Michigan's chances are in terms of competing in the Big Ten and in terms of getting into a playoff. But from what we saw last year, and it'll depend on what happens with some other teams. If they're in that 9-3, 10-2 range, and they can win some big games and their losses aren't bad, right? If they're close to really good teams, Michigan's going to have an argument. And you worry too. If it is an 8-4 season or a 7-5 season again, I don't think the perception and narrative is going to go over really well. I don't think this fan base is ready to give Moore another gap year. So the expectations are probably playoff every year. They gave him last year because of that strong finish, but I think that's where expectations are and probably where they should be. Vegas has already adjusted. They've added another win to their win total. So they're there too. They're in that 9-3, 10-2 buffer. It's just a matter of, do you beat Oklahoma? Do you beat the USC? And of course, do you beat Ohio State again at the end of the year? Those few games are really going to determine whether they're playing football in January or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that trip to East Lansing, never an easy game, really. We've had some in my lifetime, but it seems like it's always a battle in East Lansing. And going to Lincoln, at least it's not a night game in Lincoln. At first, before the kickoff time was announced, I thought, man, that place is brutal to play there against even an average Nebraska team when you play at night. And then, hey, you got to Pasadena and you play USC. Some of these games people aren't talking about, they are going to be brutally tough.
Yeah, we weren't talking about a road trip against an improved Illinois team last year, right? We were talking about Washington because how fun it would be to go to that stadium on the water, but not about a team that could beat them, right? So, yeah, you're right. There's not a lot of, with the expanded conference, there's not a lot of stretches of easy games anymore. And every week can be a tough week. And whether it's because you're playing a good team or in a tough environment, or like you said, that just the travel factor of having to go all the way out to California, it's a brutal stretch. And any team that goes a 9-3 or a 10-2, something like that in the Big Ten or the SEC, that's an impressive team that's handled a gauntlet, which is probably why the playoff extension makes sense, because we're just not going to see a lot of these undefeated teams anymore unless the schedule imbalance helped them out.
I agree with that. Well, final question before we let you get away, Trevor. As excited as everyone is about the fast approaching season, there's still a cloud hanging over the program, and it would be great if the NCAA rendered their decision before the season started. I know Sherrone would like that a lot, but there is still the very real chance the whole thing could linger into September or even longer, isn't it?
I've heard for a while that won't be the case. I think the NCAA, the Big Ten, Michigan, everybody involved knows it would be beneficial that it doesn't linger that long. We honestly could hear as soon as before Big Ten Media Days, because that would be incredibly convenient for it to be announced right before Media Days. I wouldn't be shocked by that. Yeah, at this point, resolution is what Michigan just wants, right? Just to be able to move on. I think in a lot of ways they have. If you look at their actions, they've just spent this whole time talking about how great recruiting is going, right? But it's still out there and it's still talked about. People are still going to ask about it. So just having it public, whatever the decision is, and all the potential suspension of Moore and recruiting restrictions, just having it out there and done, I think is going to be a big lift. Now, they're going to tell you inside Schembechler they don't care, there's no pressure, which I think they've done a good job of shielding themselves from it. But you're right, it's still there. So hopefully sooner rather than later, and we can discuss it and recap it and spend time talking about the narratives and reality and where they meet and maybe where they separate in terms of what were facts in all of this. But it's something I think Michigan has already moved on from physically, but I think mentally, just to not have to think about it anymore, it's going to be a big relief for a lot.
Oh, yeah. Amen to that. So much to look forward to with the season right around the corner, Big Ten Media Days, recruiting being red hot. So we are thankful for our first-time guest today, Trevor McCue from Maize N Blue Review, now affiliated with On3. So we look forward to welcoming the gang over to the Wolverine On3 and having you guys on a lot more, Trevor. So thank you for your time today, and we look forward to a future visit soon.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
On Quick Hits today, now that July is here, we are that much closer to the start of another season. In the next few days and weeks, the recruiting news should continue to be very good, knock on wood. We'll also have Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas at the end of the month. For me, the season is officially underway when I get my preseason copy of the Wolverine magazine. It's just great. It's out there and available. Check thewolverine.com if you are not a subscriber or if you would like a copy of this incredible preseason preview. It's in the mail, and we should have it in the next few days, and again, I can't wait. We're still on our summer schedule of 2 shows a month, so we'll be back in just a few weeks with the latest news, and I hope you'll join us. We will return to our weekly schedule in August as we prepare for what should be another very interesting year of Michigan football. That does it for now, though. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Have a great Wolverine week, everyone. A happy 4th of July to each and every one of you. Until we meet again, take care, and as always, go blue.
Thanks for joining us today on The Michigan Man, here on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize N Blue. Our listener lines are open 24/7 for your calls at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Or email us at themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. That's themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan, and is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!